Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TC Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video is a doozy, but it is a video that I've had probably 5 or 10 people ask about in the last week or two through various means, and that is Katsu combo lines. Like, what should we be looking for in the Edge of Autumn Katsu? Like, what are some packages of combos? And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you a baseline rundown of some of the main combo packages without going too into the weeds, just to give you a really good basic understanding and what you can know to look for. What I'm also going to do at the end of it, after 4 slides of combos, which is going to break my brain trying to talk about them, I'm going to give you 5 tips or 6 tips to think about when you're going through your combo lines. Things that will make you more efficient, not be as prone to making mistakes, even though you're still going to, because that's just how good this hero, how hard this hero is. And hopefully this gives you better understanding. If you would like a second part of this video or a third part, please let me know what is missing from this video that you would like to know more about. Maybe we'll even do a live stream with a couple other Katsu players if I can round them up, some better ones than me, and answer some community questions. I think that would be really cool. But hopefully you like this type of content. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I normally am not a floating head of darkness. It is late at night. I'm in my off days for my job, but I work night shift, and I try to not flip my schedule back because health concerns, right? We want to keep as healthy as we can. So we're doing a little late night TCG talk here. If you're new to the channel, or if you're a long-standing supporter, thank you so much as always. Feel free to check out all the stuff down below, and we'll get into it because this is going to be a pretty lengthy video, even though I have tried to keep it at the most rudimentary base level I can. And even then, look, you're even seeing some of the layer stuff. We're going to get in that in a second. We're doing it live. But so what I want to do here is I'm going to give you a couple combo packages, and I'm going to tell you why I'm giving you these packages, because I think there's certain combo threads that you just need to automatically know that you can do and think and look for. All of the combo threads that you're seeing right here are based off of a 4-card hand, and we have a couple of ground rules in terms of the aesthetic of the graphic as we go through each one, so you understand what you're looking at a little bit more. If you see a card outlined in blue, like you see Surging Strike is on each one of these lines and Whelming Gust Wave, that means the card was naturally in your hand already. If you see a card that is outlined in yellow, that means that it was in your graveyard, and you either went and got it with a bonds target as a bonds target, so on and so forth. That's basically what it means 9 times out of 10 in these graphics. Then you're going to see 1 or 2 later on that have a red ring around them, and I'll readdress that when I see them. And that basically means that was your pouncing Lynx target. And if I missed that in one of these, I'll let you know, but I'm pretty sure I got it all right. So this first slide is the tried and true 4-card combo lines that give you good damage output without popping any of your equipment. The requirement for these is a Surging Strike in hand and any Gust Wave. It doesn't have to be a Whelming Gust Wave. I did Whelming and 1 Descendant here just for simplicity's sake, but you could replace any of those Whelming Gust Waves naturally in the hand with a Second Wind or with a Descendant. It doesn't matter, right? Basically, having a Surging and a Gust Wave in your hand will get you the capability to do these lines. And again, these are 4-card 18 and 19 damage plays without popping any equipment, right? So it's it's the Ninja Blood Rush Bellow, basically, is the way to look at it, right? So in the first line, you're leading with Edge of Autumn, and the reason that you're doing this is we're not going to use that extra resource in this line, so we might as well get the damage where we can. Then you're going to pitch in your blue. The blue can be anything. I chose Seek Vengeance just because. Then you're going to play Surging Strike out, and then play out your Whelming Gust Wave. Now, typically, this is not always. Every deck is different. Every deck blocks you different. Some decks may say F you, whatever the case may be. But typically, when an opponent that's not a heavy fatigue or super blocky deck sees that Surging Strike, they do not want to block it, typically. Because the way Katsu works now, it is so easy to dishonor opponents with Pouncing Lynx now. So easy. And a lot of people are scared of that. Rightfully so, especially if you're a mid-range to aggro deck and you can't block well. They don't want to commit 2 cards to Surging Strike. Then you play Descendant, and now they have to decide, okay, am I going to take 5 damage from Descendant and 4 damage from Bonds so I don't get dishonored at the end because I need a double block Dishonored. That's what most decent players are thinking in their brain. Now, they might choose a block or they might not, but let's just say one of those hits, whether it's Surging or Whelming, What you'll do is you will discard your 4th card. That is the one thing that is not shown in this graphic, is what card is discarded for Katsu. That's just kind of given. Your 4th card is going to be a 0 cost. And you're going to go get Bonds of Ancestry. Then you're going to play Bonds of Ancestry. Then you're going to banish a card in your grave. In this case, on the first line, it's Flusterfist, to then play the Flusterfist out. A lot of times, in a line like this, the card that you discard for Katsu is the card you can use on the Bonds target, right? You could discard a Flusterfist, hopefully it's a blue Flusterfist to make it even better, to then banish it with Bonds and then go get another Flusterfist and then play it. So you technically didn't lose out on that card that you banished, which is really, really nice. So this ends up being 1 damage from Edge of Autumn, 5 damage from Surging Strike, making it 6, 4 damage from Whelming Gustwave, making it 10, 4 damage from Bonds of Ancestry, making it 14, and then 4 damage from Flusterfist, making it 18. What this is not accounting for is if Whelming Gustwave hits. I'm not going to put that in. That's too many hypotheticals for this type of video. So we have a 4-card 18 with a Bonds of Ancestry usage. And Bonds of Ancestry, and we'll get to this when we talk about the tips at the end, you have to be very careful on when you're using your bonds. You don't want to just burn them. However, your first bonds you can kind of burn for a good tempo play because you want to get 1 bonds in grave, if you can help it, to do a double bonds turn, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. The second line is somewhat similar, except you're going to wait to play your Edge of Autumn at the end so you can then play a Seek Vengeance as your chain ender. So you'll start with that Surging Strike, and if you have a 4-card hand, you start with Surging Strike, and maybe you didn't block your opponent, most of the time they're going to let it go because no Katsu in the right mind is going to hold 4 cards hoping that the first chain link hits. They have some type of natural line, and opponents know that. So if it hits, you then go discard your 0 cost. Maybe it's a Seek Vengeance to go get Bonds of Ancestry. Then you will play your Bonds of Ancestry, banish a Seek Vengeance from your graveyard, go get a Seek Vengeance, play Edge of Autumn into Seek Vengeance. The cool thing about this line is it just nets you a little bit more value. Nothing fancy. You're doing 5 damage from Surging Strike, 4 damage from Whelming, 4 damage from Bonds. So you're looking at 13 there. Then you get 14 damage on the Edge of Autumn with the 1 floating you had from your blue. And then you play Seek Vengeance for 18 damage total. And then you Okana Scar Wraps, giving it 19. This is nice because typically your opponent's never going to block that Seek at the end unless, again, they're a super blocky deck because you just dealt all that damage. They're either held a lot of cards to try to hit you back or they've already expended a good amount of cards to try to block something out on the chain. So you have this free, like, true damage at the end of your chain. Then your last one. This one is if you don't have, this is a little bit riskier for sure, a little bit riskier, but this is a 4-card hand if you don't have a Gust Wave. Sometimes this typically happens like when you take a little bit of tempo and you just leave it a surge and your opponent lets it hit. You can then go get that Descendant Gust Wave to then play Bonds, then play Dishonor. Also, this works if Descendant Gust Wave is naturally in your hand. That's probably the better line there. I'm pretty sure when I was making this at 1 a.m., I probably meant to swap the colors. So, this is just a typical tried and true Dishonor line is what I was trying to dictate here. Leading with Edge, playing Surging. Ideally, Descendant's going to be in your hand naturally. Then you go get Bonds, and then you play your Dishonor out. And so that's 1 into 5, so that's 6. Into another 5 is 11. Bonds of Ancestry makes it 15. Dishonor makes it 18. And I automatically put 19 damage on the right because on this type of play, if they don't want to respect it, you're going to Okana Scar Wraps at Dishonor. You're going to waste if you can waste an Edge of Autumn to permanently turn off your opponent's hero ability, in a lot of matchups in the meta right now, that's pretty much game over. So you're willing to do that for sure. So that's kind of where that is. So these are typical 4-card hands, as you can see. And what you're trying to do is just go get a Bonds and get some value off of that. Make that Bonds be a 0 for 8 and play a 4-card 18 or 19 damage turn without expending any of your equipment. That's very good. This is typically what you're, and the purpose of this being the first slide, is this is what you're looking for somewhere in the early game. Like at the very tail end of the early game to the start of the mid game, however long that is, however many turn cycles you deem that to be, this is what you're looking to do because this is going to start to walk your opponent down into that high 20s range, hopefully to mid 20s, and then you can get them to the low 20s, high teens, and then you look for that big combo turn, which we'll talk about here in a second. Then we have the Vengeance line. So what the Vengeance line has allowed Katsu to do is a lot of things. One, Katsu can utilize Okana. We already know about the power plays with making every card in your deck essentially have a +1 potentially. It's very impactful. It forces your opponents typically not to want to block earlier in the chain because that Okana is so dangerous on really impactful chain enders. But what it also does is allows you to play on smaller hands. People typically don't want to block the Seek Vengeance. When you play Seek Vengeance on Chain Link 2 for 4 and you haven't shown anything else in your hand, you have 1 or 2 cards left, they don't want to block it because they don't know what's coming and it's a break point. Now, if it's a really tanky deck that can block really easy, then sure. But typically in a normal matchup, they don't want to block it. So the first one showing, this one's a little bit riskier, but because they don't want this Descendant to hit more times than not. But you play Descendant on Chain Link 1. If they choose not to respect it, which some decks won't if they are an aggressive deck, you can discard for Katsu, go get Retrace the Past, then play out Retrace the Past, naming Seek Vengeance, Edge of Autumn, whatever the case may be, and then play Enact Vengeance. Now, your Okana can do one of two things. You can name Retrace the Past, Edge of Autumn, and then play Enact, and then you can banish Retrace the Past because Okana will see it as it's breaking my brain. I've done this 100 times. Okana will see Retrace the Past as Edge of Autumn, so you can banish it to then give Enact Vengeance +1. So that goes 3 into 4 into 6, which ends up being 7. So you end up getting a 14 damage play, threatening their arsenal off of a 3-card hand, essentially, or a 4-card hand, essentially a 4-card hand, but it is a 4-card hand, but a little bit more disruption. The second one, and this is the most tried and true one, this is literally a 3-card hand. You Edge of Autumn into Seek Vengeance with 1 card left in hand. If they choose not to respect it, you go get Enact Vengeance, being able to threaten 11 to 12 damage, threatening their arsenal. So a 3-card 11, 3-card 12, you're starting to play like Ira, basically, and be able to play those mid-range lines. The last one, and this is the one I wanted to show, because again, like I told you at the beginning of this slide, whenever you go from Edge of Autumn and Seek Vengeance and you have multiple cards left in hand, your opponent doesn't like to block it typically because they don't know it's coming. So you can utilize that to your advantage. So like if you have a Seek Vengeance in hand with a Descendant Gustwave and a 0 cost, and then you have a blue, you're able to go Edge of Autumn into Seek Vengeance, and then Seek Vengeance into Descendant. After they let Seek Vengeance hit, you Katsu trigger to go get Bonds, and then you play Bonds and then a Fluster. So you just did a 4-card 15 to 16 damage turn, while not starting with a Surging Strike and with not, showing any line other than Seek Vengeance on the Chain Link 2, which can be very impactful, right? You might also have certain turns sometimes where your opponent only has 1 D-React, and if you want to risk it, maybe they block Seek Vengeance for 4, just to try to bluff your bluff and say, like, I might have another D-React, are you going to do it? And you do it anyway, it hits for 1, and then you do the rest of this line, you go get Edge of Autumn back, stuff like that. That's a possibility as well. But just a thought process of when you're going through this, these are some, like, really good value play lines that you can do. The one thing I did not add in this presentation is when you start with Descendant Gustwave. When you start with Descendant Gustwave instead of surging on 4-card hands and 5-card hands, it completely changes the combos that you can do and what you're looking to do, and that honestly would add 20 minutes onto this video, and I'm trying like heck to make this video like 25-30 minutes. We're already at 14 and I'm barely halfway through the combo slides. We haven't even talked about the tips yet. So if you want another video talking about all that, please let me know. I'm just trying to make this like a baseline knowledge that you could reference, and then we'll go more in depth later. Then we start to get to the 5-card hands. Now, in these 5-card hands, I have deemed that you have a natural combo line. However, you can also pretend that you have a 4-card natural combo line, and your chain ender is what you go get with Katsu trigger. So in all of these, you're going to have a Surging Strike, some type of Gust Wave. Ideally, it's a 0-cost Gust Wave, and I'll tell you why in a second. Bonds of Ancestry, and a blue. That's the 4 cards you want in your hand. The 5th card can be whatever. Doesn't matter, as long as it's a 0 cost. Or it can be a natural combo line like I depicted on here. So you lead with Surging on Chain Link 1. You play Whelming. You play Bonds. At some point, one of those is going to hit unless someone's just saying, screw you, I'm giving equipment, and I'm not going to let anything hit. Something's going to hit. Typically, it's Bonds, and we'll talk about that here in a second on why. You're going to pop Pouncing Links. You're going to go get Retrace the Past. And then your Bonds target, if you can swing it, should be a Descendant Gust Wave. And the reason for that is you want to be able to play a Gust Wave and to retrace the pass into a finisher without having to pop Breeze Rider Boots. If your bonds target is a whelming, or if you have already pre-planned the line in your head, which we'll talk about here in a second, that you should be doing, and you know that bonds target is going to be a whelming or a second wind, that's fine. You're just going to have to pop Breeze Rider Boots. And what we're trying to do here, and the reason I'm showing you these lines, is these are 25 to 30 damage combo lines with only popping one piece of equipment. And if you can do a 25 to 30 damage combo line with only popping one piece of equipment, that's very good, because you want to keep your Heart and Cross Trap up and your Breeze Rider Boots turn for your ultimate combo line. That's what you're looking to do. So, what you can do is you banish Descendant Gust Wave, go get a Descendant Gust Wave, play it, play Retrace the Pass, and then rename Retrace Pass, open the center, and then the original Katsu trigger, which when you went and got Fluster Fist, you're then going to play Fluster Fist, and it's going to be turned on because it sees open the center, and you're doing a 25 to 29 damage line. So again, all these lines start with a Surging Strike, a Gust Wave, a zero cost Gust Wave, and a Bonds, and a blue. And then you either naturally have the Chain Ender in your hand, or you have a zero cost to go get the Chain Ender. The reason you want Chain Link 2 to be a zero cost Gust Wave, it can be Whelming or it can be Second Wind, is because you want that one floating from the blue that you pitched for Surging to then play that Descendant, right? If you don't care about that, that's fine. You can play this. You could also have Descendant because it's going to get cost reducted anyway. I don't even know why I'm saying that. We're making this video at 1 a.m. Give me a little bit of grace here, y'all. Or you can put it in the comments. That's fine. Everyone always corrects me, and I enjoy it because I want to be called out when I do something wrong. Anyway, 25 to 29 damage. Then we have the second one, which is literally the exact same line. The only difference is you're either going to get a Break Tide or you naturally had a Break Tide, because a lot of people like the Break Tide line. And that's going to give you a 25 to 28 damage turn, depending on if you utilize that last card that Break Tide got to go get from its banish on hit. Because you're doing 5, then Whelming is 4, that's 9, then Bonds is 13. Descendant is 16, Retrace makes it 20, Break Tide's going to be 25, and I just said 0 for 3 is what you're hitting off the top. You might hit worse, hit better. So 25 to 28, 29 damage. And again, the only thing you are popping on that turn is your headpiece, and that's really good. That's what you want. If you can get above 25 damage with only using one piece of equipment, you're in a good spot. The last one, this one is a little bit interesting, and this one, you basically have to have 2 Gust Waves in your hand to start the turn with a Surging and a Bonds. That sounds like Christmas Land, but it's really not when you think about it. A normal Katsu list right now is running red Whelming Gust Wave, blue Whelming Gust Wave, running Second Wind, right? The next Gust Waves, that's 9 Gust Waves. Then they're running anywhere from 4 to 6 Descendants. So you're running anywhere from 13 to 15 Gust Waves in your deck. So the probability of getting 2 Gust Waves in your hand with a Surging is not that hard, right? So if Surging or Whelming hits, or if you naturally have the line with Bonds, you play that out. With your one floating, you're going to play Descendant. If it's not a Descendant and it's a Whelming or a Second Wind, that's fine. You're just going to have to pop Breeze Rider Boots, which means you have to use 2 pieces of equipment, which again is okay. But in this scenario, you're double bondsing this turn. So you're going to Surging, Whelming, Bonds. On Bonds, you're going to banish your first Bonds that you played earlier in the game to go get your third Bonds of Ancestry. Play that Bonds of Ancestry. That Bonds of Ancestry will then banish ideally any 0 for 4. So you're going to have to pop Breeze Rider Boots here on this one anyway. So this one does involve Breeze Rider Boots. I'm sorry I didn't put that in there. And then you're going to play Salt the Wind. So now you're popping 2 pieces of equipment in order to get 27 to 32 damage. That's not too bad. This is another way to utilize Salt the Wind to its fullest effect if you can, because you're going to Links trigger to go get that Salt the Wind. So you're burning Links and you're burning your leg piece to get around 30 damage, which is pretty good. That's typically 1 piece of equipment will typically get you to a 25 damage turn, as you see above. 2 pieces of equipment, that's what it was. That's what I was trying to dictate here. I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember what I did when I originally made these slides. 2 pieces of equipment are going to get you around 30 damage. And if you pop all your equipment, which we're going to talk about here in a second, that's going to get you the stupid turns, especially if you have an Ancestral Harmony. So hopefully this made sense. I'm trying to remember everything I did. I'm trying to say everything correctly. But yes, that last line, you're going to have to pop Breeze Rider Boots in order to do it like to its fullest extent. You could also go get 100 wins in that Second Wind of a Gust Wave of the second wind spot and it has go again anyway, you get 1 less damage, but you won't have to pop Breeze Rider Boots. That's also an option as well. Now we get into the stupid turns. I did these damage by damage because it's going to get really confusing really fast. So on the first line, you have Ancestral Harmony and Arsenal. Typically with Ancestral Harmonies, you want to try to Arsenal them. I know that's hard sometimes depending on disruption and game state and being able to set up, but the reason you want to Arsenal it is for plays like this. So you get this is a full natty line. This is the Katsu turns where people play this on Talishar. They play against a Katsu and they get really pissed off because the Katsu gets a natural combo line with an Ancestral Harmony, which, yes, does not happen often, but I would say happens for me once every, I don't know, 10 games. It's not like unheard of. It's not like Christmas line happens once every 100 games. This is like once every 10 to 20 games ish. So that's just my opinion. But Harmony is an Arsenal. Then your hand is Surging Strike, Gust Wave, Bonds of Ancestry, Gust Wave. So 2 Gust Waves, a Bonds of Ancestry, and a Surging Strike. So you're going to play Harmony. The ideal hit on a Harmony every time is some type of Gust Wave. The best Harmony hit is a Descendant Gust Wave. But any Gust Wave that hits will work for this line. It just changes the damage numbers a little bit. If you see a Gust Wave off that Harmony hit, you are immediately popping Heart and Cross Trap because this is now your turn. You play Surging Strike for free. Then you play that Descendant Gust Wave that you just found with Harmony. It gets +2 from the combo and +1 from Harmony, so it's coming in for 6, giving you 11 damage. You are then playing Bonds of Ancestry for 5. That Bonds of Ancestry is going to banish a Bonds of Ancestry. You're then going to play your first Gust Wave that was actually in your hand for 5. At this point, you've popped Breeze Rider Boots. Usually on that second Gust Wave is when you're going to pop Breeze Rider Boots because they're going to let it hit. You want to pop Breeze Rider Boots early, and we'll talk about that here in a second on the tips line. But typically on these kind of plays, pop Breeze Rider Boots immediately. They already know it's going to be a combo line. You're not trying or a crazy combo turn. You're not trying to hold any information. Just pop Breeze Rider Boots so you don't have to worry about it. Surging Strike and the Descendant into Bonds for 16 damage total. Then you play your first of 2 Whelming Gust Waves that were in your hand for 5. Go again from Breeze Rider Boots. Pop Links at this point. Your Links target is going to be Retrace the Past. You play out that second Bonds that you just banished and went and got with the first Bonds. This time you're going to banish a Fluster Fist. Go get a Fluster Fist. Then you're going to play out that second Whelming that you had in your hand, whether it's a second wind, whatever the case may be. It has to be a 0 cost though. There's nothing floating here, so we don't have a choice. So you have to have a Surging in your hand, 2 0 cost Gust Waves, and a Bonds with a Harmony. This is like the ultimate combo line. So you play your Whelming, then you play Retrace the Pass, Naming, Open the Center, and then you're playing Fluster Fist. Fluster Fist is 100% coming in for at least 5 because something hit on that chain, and it's coming in for a max of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, which I've had that happen. I lose screenshots in the Purple Discord. At the time of watching this, you can go back yesterday. I think I replied to somebody and showed somebody where I did this line. I actually got this line from that game I did. This against a Marlin. And so you're looking at 41 to 47 damage. And in order to do that, you had to pop Breeze Rider Boots, you had to pop your Headpiece and Links, and you had to pop Heart and Cross Trap. So again, what you need is Harmony and Arsenal, a Surging Strike, 2 0 cost Gust Waves, and a Bonds in your hand. That's what you need in order to facilitate this line. You also need a Bonds and a Fluster in your grave already. So this is a late game combo. The next one is if it missed. So if you played Harmony and you didn't get any hit at all. So as you can see here, I played Harmony and I hit a Surging Strike. Hate my life. Suck. Guess what? We're still doing 33 or 38 damage. So you're going to pop Heart and Cross Trap still. Play Surging Strike for 5. Then you're going to play your 0 cost Gust Wave. Your first 0 cost Gust Wave. In this case, it's a red Whelming for 5. Go again on hit draw card. Then you play your Bonds for 5. You're going to banish your Bonds that's already in grave. Then you're going to play your second Gust Wave out. Play Bonds again. You've popped Breeze Rider Boots to this point, obviously, as you can see here. That second Bonds is going to then banish a Fluster. For 5, go again. Then you're going to pop Links at some point. Go get a Salt the Wound. Typically, you want to pop it later, which isn't going to be hard considering everything's coming in for 5, go again. One of those last 3 cards is going to hit. And then you go get your Salt the Wound, which is going to come in anywhere from at least 3 because something hit So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's going to come in for 3 to 8. So you're going to get 33 to 38 damage. Again, this is what Harmony can do. And everybody's always like, I hate Harmony. Harmony's like, and yes, sometimes Harmony sucks. When you play it on a 4-card hand and misses, you feel like nothing just happened, which is ideally when you shouldn't be playing it. You want to arsenal it, and you want to play it on these big combo turns. Whew. So, I tried to explain these the best I could. I hope I didn't misspeak. I probably did. This is a very, very complicated deck with a bunch of different things you can do. But to overview it in 30 seconds less again, 4-card hands in the early game, you're looking to try to get a decent bonds turn like one of these without popping any equipment, dealing 18 to 19 damage. You're also looking for value line plays like these, popping 0 equipment, doing 13 to 16 damage with threatening on hits. In the mid game, if you can help it, if you don't want to do the ultimate combo with Harmony, these are the type of combo turns you're looking to do in the mid to early late game, where you're going to be popping 1, maybe 2 pieces of equipment. In the first 2 you see, you're popping 1 piece of equipment to get to that 25 damage threshold. And then in the last line, Bruise Our Boots should be in like a mini box there, I'm sorry. But you're popping 2 pieces of equipment to get to about 30 damage. Then the ultimate combo line, if you have time to set it up and sculpt your hand, is these. These are the oh shit, I just killed you, there's nothing you can do about it type play lines, where you're dealing 35 to 40 damage. And I would say these come up every 10 to 20 games, especially if your opponent's not interacting with you like they should. So that's kind of where that is. So let's get into some of the tips. These are a little bit easier to conceptualize, and hopefully I've done a good job up until this point. Tip number 1, plan your line ahead of time. Know if you're going to do this line, just know what you're going to do at the first step. Now, this gets into point 5 here in a second, which we'll talk about, but typically try to understand what your line's going to be ahead of time. Start thinking about it even like when your opponent presents whatever their offensive turn is. Be like, okay, if I hold all my cards, what does my line look like? What's in my grave? What can I go get with my first bonds play? If I block with 1 card, how does that affect that? If I block with 2 cards, can I do a value line like we showed in number 2? Plan your line ahead of time. Don't try to think of your line after the first attack hits, which is what some people do because you're thinking about a bunch of other shit, right? So, it's fine. Point number 2, find the gust wave that fits the correct situation. What I'll see a lot of people that play Katsu do sometimes, and I've done it, I still do it, even after playing the hero since literally Monarch, is you'll get the wrong gust wave for the wrong situation, right? If I'm playing against a Victor, or even a Victor or a Bravo, I'm just going to say random, or Verdance or Florian, go in and gain a whelming gust wave in the early game, kind of stupid. Not stupid, that's harsh. It's kind of not ideal, right? Because they have a lot of defense reactions, those decks I just listed. They have a lot of armor. They're going to be able to block whelming out very easily without actually utilizing their kit. Now, if your goal is, okay, I want to try to see if I can, see if they'll bite and block with some armor here on this whelming, so sure. But typically, go get a second wind, right? If it's in the really early game, go get a second wind, right? Because you don't want to burn your whelmings and your descendants. You want to save those for your good combo turns. Go get a second one. It's going to come in for 4 go again anyway, and then, or if you already have a second one, then go get bonds and then finish it off luster, right? It doesn't have to be one of your good gust waves. Make sure, if you're trying to push damage, then go get a descendant, right? Sometimes that on-hit draw card might not be better. Sometimes you kind of just want to play that 0 for 5 go again and force another chain link to hit, so that way when you go get your salt or you go get your fluster at the end of that combo line, it's better. Sometimes against aggressive decks, in the early game, you do want to go get Whelming Gust Wave because now you're threatening a on-hit that they have to care about or just get more value from the draw, right? Just think through that stuff. Sometimes in the mid-game, you're like, okay, I'm going to go get a Descendant here because I want to get one Descendant in Grave so that way I can do those double bonds turns that I showed you earlier, right? Think of what Gust Wave makes sense in that moment. Don't just default to Descendant or default to Whelming. If it's a really aggressive deck that you think you can dishonor, right, maybe they double blocked your Surging, right? Or maybe they even they double blocked your Surging, and then you play something, I don't know, whatever the case may be. They blocked, maybe they tried to block your Seek Vengeance. Maybe you Edge of Autumned into a Seek Vengeance with a Surging in hand and a Bonds, and then you surging, and then you had a 0 cost, and you're like, okay, I'm going to go get a Descendant because they're probably not going to be able to block very well, and I'm going to threaten Dishonor. Whatever the case may be, right? I'm trying to think of stuff off the top of my head. It's really hard. Just think of like what gust wave actually fits that situation. Don't just auto default to certain gust waves. Think what makes the most sense. Point number 3, try to always have an idea of your grave targets without looking as much as you can. This is so hard. I still am not able to do this 100%, but it's kind of like Codex. Good assassin players will tell you either they just know what's in their grave so they don't have to check for Codex targets, or they check every single turn so the opponent never knows. Do one of those things with Katsu. Check your own grave every single defensive turn, or try your best not to check it at all and just know what's in your grave. So that way you're not telegraphing bonds targets. You're not telegraphing play lines that you're trying to do. It's just something you got to try to get better at. The more you play the deck, the more you'll know what's still in your deck, that kind of stuff. Also, use Katsu triggers. This isn't even a point. This just kind of goes off of number 3. Use Katsu triggers as a time to look what's in your deck. If you Katsu trigger to know you're going to go get a bonds, when you're Katsu triggering, like fish your bonds out to the side, not even on the side, but just out to the side in your fingers, and then keep going through your deck. Just sit there for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, count what's in your deck. Like, just don't sit there and count every single card. You know what I mean? Just like filter through your deck. Be like, okay, I got 4 Descendants left. I got 3 Surgeons left. I got 3 Whelmings left. Cool. You know what I mean? Like, that's a good time to do it. Number 4, what chain enders are most applicable and punishing? Is it Fluster Fist better? Is the opponent giving up a lot of blocks early? Maybe you had that nice natural line where you had Surging Descendant, and you had a Bonds in your arsenal or something, and they double blocked the first 2 chain links. You're like, well, I'm going to go get Dishonor now, because now it's going to be hard for them to block. That's like an obvious one, right? But let's say you're one of those people, and it's totally fine because you're talking about one of the kings of loving that card is Break Tide. Break Tide might be good, or it might not. It might be better to go get Fluster and to retrace in the Fluster to just push damage, right? Because if you go get that 5 Dominate, but they have a lot of armor, then you got some armor to go away, which is always good for Katsu, right? If you want to force out some armor, maybe that is what you're trying to do, and that's fine. But if it's in the mid to late game and you're just trying to get them low so you can close the game out, go get Fluster, right? Don't get tied up in certain chain enders that you enjoy more, unless that's truly what you want to do. Just think of like what chain enders make the most sense. Does Fluster make the most sense? Will Salt make the most sense here so I don't have to waste my links to go get Retrace, right? Whatever the case may be. Think about what chain enders make the most sense. The next one is, and this one is very hard to do, incorporate blocking patterns into your what ifs. So to point number 1, plan your line ahead of time. He's kind of changed the way he blocks now, and Moog, if you're watching this, I apologize. I'm not calling you out. I'm just using you as a good example. When Moog played against my Katsu last week for the first time, he hasn't played against Katsu hardly at all. He's not new to the game, but he's pretty new to the game. He hasn't played against Katsus. He was blocking my Surging Strike Chain Link 1 every time. So, which doesn't always work out for them if I have a natural line, which unfortunately for Moog, I did have the natural line a lot that game. But that's besides the point. That's a thing I had to think about. Like, he was playing Arachne Marionette. And so I had to think of like, okay, he's presenting X play line on his turn. I know next turn he's going to block my Surging because that's just what he's been doing. And that's fine. But like, if my hand is blue, Surging, 100 Winds, and Fluster, right? I don't have a natural combo line there, but I do have a go again just in case. It's not terrible. If I know he's going to block my Surging out, then, and it's a decent on hit that he's presenting, maybe I do block with my blue and my Fluster to get some grave fill. I throw 100 Winds at him on my turn and then arsenal my Surging. Who knows? Maybe that's not the right play. But if I know he's going to block my Surging, I don't have the natural line, do I want to really hold my whole hand hoping he doesn't block my Surging this time when he's been doing it pretty much every time he sees it? Whereas if you play another player, it's like no blocks, I'm a block Whelming, which a lot of people do. Then you can risk it a little more depending on your hand structure, right? Like that same hand into an opponent that never blocks Surging, always blocks Whelming. I know I can hold cards because I'm going to discard that Fluster likely or the 100 Winds depending on the hand structure to go get that Whelming, right? So that's kind of how that is. And then number 6 is be patient with pouncing links. This is so situational. There's certain times where you have to force pouncing links just to try to take some tempo back. I get it. And sometimes you just have the God hand, and it doesn't matter what life total they're at. Just fucking go for it, right? But in a normal drawed game, in normal patterns, not barring some high rolls or some highly contextual things, you're trying to get your opponent to the low 20s to high teens before you pop that links. Because as we showed here, popping links typically gets you anywhere from 25 to 30 damage on a non-Christmas line links turn. On a Christmas line links turn, they're dead. So like, let's just focus on these. You're getting 25 to 30 damage. So you think about it. Let's just account. I always try to account for them having one defense reaction. So if they have one defense reaction in all 3 blocks, that's 4, 7, 10, 13 block. So if we're doing, let's just say 25 damage, you're leaking 12. So if you get them to 22 and you leak 12, you got them to 10, and now you can just try to take it from there, right, in terms of tempo. And once a Katsu gets someone in the single digits, unless I just draw absolutely god-awful, I'm in a pretty good spot to win the game. Now, if you get them in the low teens, though, think about it. If you get them to 17, 16, 18, like let's say 18, and you deal 25 damage and you leak 12, they're now at 6, right? So now you're really in a good spot, right? So that's where you typically want to be on a combo turn. Now that changes if they have a lot of defense reactions and you want to try to get them even lower, like the mid-teens. If they have all of their fridge up, you need to keep that into account. It's like, okay, if I just say they have on natural 13 block in their hand and they have 5 equipment block up, even if I have a natty line, they're going to be able to block 18. If I deal 27 here, then I'm going to leak 9. Is that worth it? Do I want to try to push them down a little bit more? Or heck, do I just want to go for it, force out all their equipment, and then try to kill them from there? Whatever the case may be, it's things you have to be thinking about, right? But typically, you want to get them in the low 20s to high teens before you pop links. This is kind of what it is. But that is the video. Hopefully, I helped a little bit. I tried my best. I could get some of the better Katsu players than me, like Karma, Taylor Crawford, Thomas, a bunch of other really good Katsu players, and just sit and talk shop on this on a podcast for like 3 hours. You really could for 3 hours. It's so contextual on who you're playing, what you're playing against, what's in your deck, what is your hand structure, all that stuff. What's your opponent's blocking patterns seem to be like? How is that going to affect your lines? All that stuff. And that's the beauty of this hero. I'm telling you, this hero is arguably the most complicated hero in the game. It's definitely top 5, if not top 3. Depends on how you view complicated decks. But there's like almost infinite possibilities, so it makes it really hard. But hopefully this was helpful. If I misspoke or said anything weird, something was confusing, please let me know. I will be very good on this video at responding to stuff. If there's something I did not cover, like leading with Descendant Gustwave on lines, I can do that in another video. As you can see, we're already at 37 minutes, and I literally covered bare bone basic bullshit when it came to Katsu. Like literally the most bare bones stuff. So hopefully this was helpful. But yeah, thank y'all so much. If you like this type of content, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. If this content wasn't for you, or there's a different way that I should have done it, or something I could do better, you don't have to support me. That's completely fine. I would just implore you to leave something in the comments down below. Help me be a better creator for you, or for somebody else if you don't end up coming back, which is completely fine. Also, I have a creator worksheet down below. Go check out anyone in that creator worksheet. It's a bunch of Flesh and Blood creators that are very deserving of your love and support. Go help them out. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time on TC Talk. Be kind to each other. Have a nice day.